Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live in a world of Ein Shalom. There is no peace. And I tell you guys, as I watched Mike Pence's statement this evening about Venezuela, I'm really beginning to wonder more and more if even United States policy is not more like what we see in Revelation chapter 13 here, especially verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Nobody might buy or sell, say it again, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. I mean, isn't this really what sanctions are all about? Isn't it? It's kind of ironic. Israel, and listen, I'm not for sanctioning Israel either. If there's any sanctions that should be done in the world, we should sanction military, the sale of military arms around the world. That's really what sanctioning should be. Listen, you want to make weapons, make them for yourself. You shouldn't be allowed to sell them to nobody else in the world, because all it is going around killing your brother. Blow your neighbor up, blow your brother up, blow your sister up. That's all it does. And Israel fights like crazy against certain Israelis in the nation that have promoted the BDS, the boycotting of Israeli products. Now, I've never been for boycotting Israeli products because I realize that boycotting Israel hurts the individual. It hurts the people of Israel. And this is one reason why I've not been for boycotting of Israel either. But neither am I for boycotting other nations such as Venezuela or Syria or many others, because what happens at the end of the day, those that get injured in these sanctions are the people. But I can't help but think of what the scripture says. No man might be able to buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And isn't it interesting how the United States, when they sanction all these nations or individuals in other nations, if you dare go against their sanctions, they'll sanction you as well. You just don't play by the book. Russia's suffering as well. And although they may put on a good face up front, Russia is suffering from sanctions. There's no doubt about it, because not only is Russia sanctioned by the United States, any other nation that we do business with, they're sanctioned if they do anything to help Russia, with the exception of Israel. That's kind of interesting. Israel can violate all the sanctions they want, and nothing happens to Israel. We're going to go into something about that on our Shabbat teaching, which will be actually tomorrow morning during the Shabbat time. But I wanted to share this with you because I watched here, and let me let you listen to this just for a moment here. This is Mike Pence, Vice President of the United States, showing how that the United States, they're ready to go take care of military action. And John Bolton even talks about sending Maduro to Guantanamo Bay. Then I'm going to get into this sanctions issue, because you need to know why Venezuela is in the trouble. It's not because of socialism. It has nothing to do with the socialism of the nation. It was because they have been under sanctions since, 2006? Totally destroying the economy of the people. No wonder why they can't afford to buy anything. No wonder why the people are willing to accept anything America gives them. Because after all, those that are for Juan Guaido realize that, hey, if we get Juan in, the U.S. will lift the sanctions and we might get a paycheck once in our life there. You know, I'm not just saying these things to be saying them either, friends. I say this because right out of Israel, from those that are in the know with Israeli intelligence, they have been telling me for months, I've said this to you long before we got to this point with Venezuela, that the United States and Israel both had ops on the ground in the country to destabilize the nation, and that they had fully intended to take the oil for the United States. And as I said it to you, quote unquote, the U.S. needs the oil more than they do. So do you really think it's about for the people of Venezuela? No. Not at all. Listen first what Mike Pence says, and then I want to share with you a little bit of the historical side of what we've done to destroy this nation, like all other nations that we continue to destroy around the world.
The States has made it clear. The safety and security of President Guaido and his family are of great importance to the American people. Just yesterday, Maduro threatened President Guaido's family, sending paramilitary police to his home. But we know that President Guaido and the Venezuelan people will never be intimidated, and neither will we. At President Trump's direction, the United States has imposed sanctions on more than 50 current and former Venezuelan officials, targeting known drug runners and human rights abusers and government thieves who've enriched themselves by impoverishing the people. Since
Let me clarify something there from Mike Pence. I know good and well what the United States government has done that also padded the pockets of at least 30 politicians that I know of your illegal drug activities, smuggling drugs into the United States from El Salvador, Ecuador, Nicaragua, and other places there, and all the kickbacks as you laundered the money. I also know that there's some evidence sitting out there right now that would implicate some of those in the current administration for laundering drug money once again. So, it's kind of like interesting. They throw stones at everybody else, and I'm not saying Maduro's not doing it. He probably is. The problem is the politicians in America are not getting their kickbacks, and that's where the trouble really begins. And yeah, all that drug and nonsense that goes on, yeah, you bring it into America. Maduro does it. Americans do it. American military does it. I've got some very interesting information coming to me very soon about Afghanistan as well. Yeah, I happen to find out exactly what the drug ring run is by the U.S. military and all those that you use involved in smuggling all that drugs of the poppy and all the other heroin out of the country there into the United States. So yeah, there's a lot of dirty laundry in this country as well. The problem is, I think Maduro probably kind of sidestepped your policy on this, and therefore maybe that's the only way he's making his money right now. So yeah, he is a criminal, no doubt, just like we have in American politicians as well. I guess that troubles you all.
oil is the lifeblood of that corrupt regime. This week, the United States of America sanctioned Venezuela's state-owned oil company. Venezuela's oil belongs to the Venezuelan people.
And remember, as I told you already, from those in the know, and the Israeli officials that I've been speaking with have let me know, no, that's for America. They need it more than the Venezuelans do. Quote, unquote. Nice, isn't it? Very nice to know all that. Let's go, though. Listen, this was done by Global Research, and this article is here on August 15th, 2018. The United States destroys Venezuela's economy. All right, sanctions are war by other means, invisible to most eyes. Corporate media in this country delivered a steady onslaught. I'm going to blow this up so you guys can make sure you guys can see this as well. All right. All right, so they did this anti-Venezuela propaganda. The Washington Post fumes about Venezuelan pirates, while the New York Times reported that Ecuador is overwhelmed by desperate Venezuelan migrants. Unfortunately, the propaganda has succeeded to a large degree. Socialism doesn't work, just look at Venezuela, is an all too common trope. It is rare that anyone with public platform reveals a simple truth. Venezuela's problems were created by the United States government, first during the Obama administration and now continuing under Trump's. It is sanctions against the Venezuelan government and its people and have created hyperinflation, hunger, and devastated healthcare system that was once the envy of that region. Sanctions are war by other means, invisible to most eyes. There are no troops, bullets, bombs, drones, or military weapons, but sanctions are as deadly as any military invasion. Trump may do that yet, which is now what's going on now. 2015, Barack Obama issued an executive order declaring Venezuela to be an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Why? They didn't go along with the terrorist act that Bush had enacted after 9/11. Yeah, that's right, because maybe they realized that there was something sinister going on in our country and that it was not really something that was done by the terrorists in the Middle East, but rather by the terrorists that were at home in the United States. Kind of reminds me of one particular Israeli guy claiming to be a believer in Yeshua that said he was in the Twin Towers the day before and made this very ominous statement. Wonder how the world will change when something hits this Twin Towers, hits these Twin Towers. Wow, no, that's not a prophecy. That is an omission of being there. And of course, well, we won't get into that right now. I think you catch the drift of what we're talking about. And then also you have another, and this is many articles that are out there, Sanctions of Mass Destruction, America's War on Venezuela. American economic sanctions have been the worst crime against humanity since World War II. America's economy sanctions have killed more innocent people than all nuclear, biological, chemical weapons ever used in the history of mankind. The fact that for America, the issue of Venezuelan oil is not democracy will surprise only those who watch the news and ignore the history. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves on the planet. America seeks to control Venezuela because it sits atop a strategic intersection of the Caribbean South and Central American worlds. Control of the nation has always been a remarkably effective way to project power into these three regions and beyond. Okay, now, I'm going to have these articles there in the description below for you. But the whole point is one, we don't want Russia in the hemisphere there. And Russia was looking at building a base there at the invitation of Maduro. I don't think Russia is really going to build a base there, though, so long as there's this type of contention. And granted, no, I don't want a Russian military base there either. Just like I didn't want one in Cuba. And yes, Maduro does have some pretty sinister friends, but the only thing is we just dress our sinister politicians up in a bunch of nice suits and call them a bunch of Democrats, and democracy is moving full steam ahead. Let alone all the crimes that are committed behind the scenes. And I know this goes not just Republican, it's Democrat and Republican just alike. I've seen their crimes. I saw their embezzlement, their money laundering, and their drug running, and all the other schemes that they do. And of course, like I said, even the evidence I have seen to this day where it continues to go on. And yes, there's still a lot of wealthy politicians, pockets are padded. Yes, even some of those people that are very close to President Trump and that of President Putin as well. Yes, some of the Russian oligarchs who've been involved in investing in properties, etc., and also investing in companies with some of President Trump's former friends. Kind of like Rick Davis, Rick Gates, Paul Manafort, and that little ominous little deal that was done over there with their company from the Cayman Islands that purchased that telecoms communication company in Ukraine, only to make sure they got Yanukovych into office to drain the money out of Ukraine. After they got through draining that, then they used the telecoms communication company that the Americans owned, which they didn't pay back the Russian oligarchs either. Maybe this is why the dispute came up and Ukraine became a slow-falling little disaster over there. But that extra 20 million they got from the Russian oligarchs of Putin's friends ended up being invested in another property that, well, you wouldn't believe who actually owns that property. We'll save that for another day. I'm Steve Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Listen, if you want to support the broadcast, we'll definitely tell you the truth. Not going to beat around the bush about it. Just tell you just like it is. You can donate via online, IsraeliNewsLive.org, or check out our address right here below the monitor there. You can send it by mail. We'll also be putting the address on our website very soon, as well as other means to be able to donate to help you guys to make it simpler. And I think also right below the subscribe button on YouTube, I think you can click that button as well and donate that way. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Benoon with Israeli News Live. Erev Tov.